5:50 p.m. We will skip our second agenda item for the approval of minutes, and we will table that for next week. And I'm told that we don't have any citizen comments today. However, there is a slight change to the agenda as it is because one of our task force members wanted to present an idea to the board. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take any action on that, but I do look forward to hearing what Ms. Christina will be presenting to us tonight.
Okay, are we getting it right into it?
We have the slide in front of in the screen.
Okay, I see it. Okay, yeah, and so thank you everyone for being here. So we did have the SMART goals sheet. Unfortunately, fortunately we had a wealth of ideas that we wanted to draw from, and so which touched on different categories. It was such a diverse group of individuals with a lot of really good ideas. So we went ahead and put together this one-pager trying to condense everything in one. I really feel like it overlaps with some of the stuff that the library system is already doing. But there was, especially from Ms. Berta Peña, this really phenomenal, idea. Because we had some educators on the task force, they were really able to bring insight to a huge need in the southmost area that could draw crowds, that could draw more engagement to the southmost library. And so really quick, I don't want to do death by PowerPoint or death by presentation and read it exactly, but I know it's kind of small, so I will go ahead and read it. The Brownsville Library Task Force introduces the following long-term and short-term projects for consideration of the Brownsville Public Library Board. Now, these projects aim to serve the community with various educational and enrichment opportunities to build lasting positive connections between the public and the Brownsville Public Library system. And so really these projects really focus on building lasting relationships for people and families of all ages. So really quick, we have a fine arts focus. This is more of short-term projects. And this is one of the ones that I believe really overlaps with some of the stuff that the library is already offering or has offered in the past. So now we have like a coding workshop, music workshops. For example, my child is taking private piano lessons right now, and it is a pretty penny. So if that's something that the library system can provide space for, and we can partner with community partners in the area, that's something that would be really great. I know we have the Brownsville Performing Arts Center, but going back to the focus, it's to bring, I don't want to say like the hotel kind of thing, the heads in beds, or butts in seats or bodies in the library. We want, people to feel welcome and a part of the library system. So we brought the idea of music workshops, instrument lending library where people could check out instruments, chess lessons. I know that's something the library system has had in the past with a local high school student. I can't think of her name right now, but she's a phenomenal chess master. And I think this Pawns and Queens is the name of the program. Also music choir, a rock garden, painting workshop, which is, low cost. And it's also something that, would bring a bit of library home to kids. So there's that for the fine arts focus. Now for the school district higher education collaboration, this was that really phenomenal one that Ms. Peña hit out of the park, I think. What it was brought up with some of the experience of the educators in the group was that, the dual enrollment courses offered through BISD, there might be a bit of, I guess, more accessibility to certain students zoned for certain schools or that attend certain schools versus what's currently available to students at like Porter High School and kids in the Southmost area. So we wanted to go ahead and bring down that barrier and see if the Southmost Library could serve as a space to provide dual enrollment classes where, teachers educators with that, with those credentials could go ahead and, partner up with us and with the Texas Southmost College to provide those dual enrollment classes to students. One of the things that was identified by the educators in the group is that students are often, in Porter High School, for example, are often, kind of left to their own devices to figure out a schedule for their dual enrollment classes and their regular classes or the other classes that they need. And we just felt that was a really unfair barrier that the students, really shouldn't have to deal with, or, that shouldn't intimidate them away from, being involved in higher ed. So that was something that we were really looking forward to. We also thought this would be more of a long-term project. We'd have to get, the community partners in and really work with BISD and Texas Southmost College. And as I mentioned, the real aim for that and the goal would also be to give students, high school students, that comfort and really be more familiar with the library system and really feel as if not only they belong, but have a bit more ownership, and so they can advocate for the library as well. So that was the major project there. Another one was I know the library system already does a phenomenal job of having these great schedules for their events. And so we were thinking, partnering with businesses in the Southmost area to be points of access for those schedules. And so so it's the library kind of coming to the public instead of just being so stationary. So that's another long-term project that really would have to have a lot of collaboration and relationship building on behalf of the library system and the community partners. Now, the third block here is we have the goal of increasing community engagement, and there are already some existing book clubs in Brownsville, but it just seemed really like a no-brainer to have the monthly book club meetings at the library. So this goes back to making these public spaces more welcoming and accessible and having events that draw people to these public spaces. I know that the library also does have a first library card. Kids can check out their own books, but we also wanted to bring up the first library card program and even perhaps a mobile library that could partner with something similar, like the Parks Department from the city has the mobile recreation unit where they take playgrounds to different parts of the city. So it's something similar to that, but with a component of a library. Yes, there is the Brownsville Wellness Coalition's library at Linear Park, but this is more of an effort to get the library out to the public. So those are some of the ideas we wanted to put together with a time frame. I know it's a lot, but we're very enthusiastic and really dedicated to, leave no stone unturned in terms of what could work for the community of Brownsville. That's about it.
Thanks so much. I noticed there too that you were thinking in terms of measuring success by attendance and participation in some of the events, and that's really a challenge ongoing with any new programming, is getting the word out there and making sure that you've got people that know, enough people to know about it, that then come and then come again. So I think those rates that you put there are very realistic. And you know, we at the library think we've done sometimes the best job with getting the word out there, and we're really excited about our programming. And then, and I'm speaking just generally about libraries, and then we're surprised, you know, when we may not have the turnout. So I think 50%, 75%, those are realistic numbers for launching new community engagement. You can tell that you all put a lot of time and effort. I know you met frequently. I know you were thoughtful, and I think that these proposals and recommendations really reflect that you were trying to represent a diverse patron base. And that's exactly what we were hoping for. Are there any other folks here that wanted to comment on anything that the task force has proposed tonight? Any questions for the task force about some of these items?
Hi, this is Veronica. I just wanted to add that these were the ideas we presented at the last meeting, and I think that the feedback that we got from you all was you wanted to see which ideas were possible to get started short term and some that were long term. So I think Christina mentioned it, and it's like it's in a small font there, but you can see that there are some ideas that we thought could be started quickly, and then there were some that would take a while to start.
Yes, you guys, I think what happened was you had an abundance of ideas the last time, and they were all really great ideas. And what you did here was you really focused them together. And yes, the short term and the long term, and the partnership with higher education, with Texas Southmost College, you know, yes, that would take time. That will probably involve, you know, things like MOUs and whatnot. But, you know, scaling it and thinking of it in terms of, you know, starting maybe the first quarter there, I think is what you have of 2022. You know, that gives time for the board to also help with that. So really, you guys have just done fantastic work with, like I said, organizing and focusing in on what it is that you think are the top priorities for these short-term and long-term goals.
I'd also like to add, this is Bertha Peña, that we kept in mind budgets. How much would something like this cost at a large scale, and how would we measure it? Because money isn't everything. You can spend a lot of money on projects, but if you don't get the success that you want to measure. So we kept saying if there's an increase, if there's an improvement of participation, that's the start. You know, we can always grow with that. So we kept our goals for all of these three subcategories. We kept them very lofty, something attainable, something that we could say, you know, it would be up to the library staff to make sure which ones are the ones that we want for short term, and which of these activities are the ones that we're looking for 2022 or 2023 even. But we've got to have a plan, and the plan is reviewed periodically so that we can keep on task.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. Are there any other comments, questions?
I didn't get to hear Mrs. Ayala. I think she was on mute.
I'm trying to get on. Okay, hold on.
If I may, if I may add something, I hope y'all can hear me. This is Christina. That there is another component of this, and that is with a deeper delve of Miss Cynthia's trails slide, and I can see if I can upload this now.
I'd like to chime in on that. That there could fall under two categories from the slide that was presented. Collaboration with BISD and increased community engagement.
Yes, and it is something that is underway, as I understand it, with parks. So leveraging these partnerships within the city of Brownsville and within, with our neighbors is just the best idea, I think.
I'm glad to hear of it. And thank you for giving me that opportunity of presenting prior to the task force. It's just all seems to be coming into place, falling into place nicely. Good to hear.
All right, I think, hang on here, Cynthia, because I think that we're trying to get your slide visible so you can have a reference point here to talk a little bit more. Here we go.
Okay. Yay. Okay. And I'll let Miss Cynthia take it away, Johnny Gonzalez style, if you'll have any questions.
All right, thank you. Just that one right there. I'm sure now you're familiarized with the Storybook Trail as presented, and here it's just been condensed, highlighting the main points. But one specifically is the how, as far as the outreach, the community outreach to involve BISD, and like mentioned about the neighboring schools to the trail, close proximity, and having that engagement. And I know that's going to take some effort as far as bureaucracy and getting everyone in. That would be with curriculum and instruction, media services, as well as the librarians from those campuses. But as far as sharing this project with my own school, you can definitely count on Porter High School, which is, again, another neighboring school.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Oh, good. I hadn't been able to get on. This is Rachel Ayala. I really like your ideas, Ms. Peña. I'm sorry I couldn't speak because I wasn't being allowed to, because I couldn't figure this out. I think your ideas are wonderful. I'm in agreement with Shannon. It's the outreach that we need to be more, I would say, aggressive with, not only with BISD, with IDEA and all the campuses, because I'm sure everybody would buy into everything that you suggested. And like Ms. Peña said, it's not necessarily budget or money. It's just hitting the right person, getting people excited, because a lot of work has been taking place. And hopefully we'll be able to have more, not do so much virtual, that we can talk, to more entities, that we can get a lot done.
Thank you, Ms. Ayala, for your comments. I hesitate here to put anyone on the library staff on on blast or anything, but I do know we had talked a couple meetings ago about the Storybook Trail, and there was some information about the progress that was being made with parks and the build out. And I wonder if Chase or someone else might be able to give us a little bit of information.
Hi there. Can you all hear me? Cool. So just in case anyone's new, my name is Chase Sons. I'm a librarian here with the Brownsville Public Library. And just to give you all just a kind of update on the Story Walk Trail, and the progress we've made with it. So since we've had a couple meetings where we talked about the idea from when we first heard about it, Kayla, who is also a librarian who works at the Southmost branch, and I have been in conversation with staff from the Parks Department, and they're actually working on building like stands that are going to be mobile so that we can create a mobile story walk trail that we can encompass throughout the entire city of Brownsville at the different parks. We wanted to do mobile at first because we wanted to build traction with each park and see where we kind of get that most success and those most hits from before we do anything more of that permanent stature. And so, in talks with parks, we're talking about doing maybe either every 2 months we move the story walk, or we do it like every quarter, just to see the success of where we're at. Just because we do want to make sure that we are able to focus on the different parks that Brownsville has to offer, as well as the community that visits them as well.
I would like to be considered as far as in these meetings if it is all possible.
Yeah, for sure. So what we can do is, I know we're waiting on parks right now, just because they do have a lot of summer camps happening right now with the city. So they're kind of like a little bit all over the place right now with their kiddos. So we do have a meeting hopefully set up in the next couple of weeks. But any feedback, any notice of that, we'll definitely send an email and include you on that so you can be involved.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chase. Thanks, Cynthia. Yes, that was what I was going to add, is just whether it be possible to make sure she's looped in on this. And again, I think it's the other part of like trying, oh, my dogs are barking, I apologize. The other part of having it mobile and moving around to different parks, it will also drum up some interest, I think, among community members. And so it's kind of like a preview of what's to come. And so that becomes something then that's scalable in the future as well, if it's really popular in different places, and maybe could even help drive parks, numbers of attendance up to different places. So yeah, I think this is wonderful, and I'm so glad that they agreed to move forward with this type of a project. Anything to involve literacy, but also that health aspect of being outdoors is wonderful. Well, since this is an informational meeting and we're kind of just flying along here by the seat of our pants, is there anything else anyone wanted to ask about with regard to the task force, any of those short or long-term recommendations, anything to do with the storybook trail before we move on?
No, this is Christina, and the only question I had is, I missed the last meeting, so forgive me if this was already addressed, but I was curious to see if the term limits, or not necessarily term limits, but I guess if the task force was looking at, like, if the library board was looking at extending the task force participation. I think this is our last meeting.
It's not something that we discussed, but we knew it was a possibility. And so that's certainly an option to extend your service. Again, if you might remember, we were just very concerned that we didn't want to overburden volunteers by asking for longer service. We just kind of wanted to get the pulse of things and really just see if there was going to be some interest in participation. So it sounds like that maybe for next board meeting, that's something we should talk about, is maybe adding a second round of, are you all happy with the number of volunteers that you have?
I think so. I think we all worked really well together.
And,
yes, I would like to add also that we've all percolated a lot of ideas, and if Leo or Mr. Guerra want to transpose some of these goals or some of these activities into your long-term improvement plan, then we can certainly assist, because each one of us, you know, we are the parent of one of these activities in the very least. And so we can talk about it. Any one of us can talk about any one of these activities, and we can further have an explanation when the writing comes along, when you're writing the actual plan, the improvement plan.
So what if I'm hearing you all correctly, then what it sounds to me like is, okay, you've done this research, you've done the brainstorming, you've really, really focused some ideas and recommendations. And so maybe the next phase is going to be something more to do with implementation. Does that sound like something you all are interested in seeing through?
Probably fleshing it out.
This is Rachel Ayala. I feel that we should continue with the committee. Not maybe meeting as often, but this needs to be monitored or implemented. It went into a lot of work to drop it. And the only way, like for example, we have Ms. Peña's expertise and we have others to make sure that we're implementing it, not appropriately, but that they can assist us, because it went, this was a lot of work. And I think we just can't drop it. This is the first time I see something like this implemented. And my compliments to you, Mr. Guerra, that we're taking the initiative to really do something great for the library.
Yes, and there is no question that no one will be dropping anything. It's just a matter of whether, how we want the next phase of this to go in terms of, you know, like I said, we were all as a board just trying to make sure we didn't overburden people. But now that this is something that's taken on some legs, then now it seems we should reevaluate and discuss the task force taking on more of a role with the planning and implementation. So, so I'd like to definitely add this to our agenda for next meeting. And hopefully we'll have a quorum to be able to take action on that. And in the meantime, we'll talk with Leo and kind of get some feedback from the task force about what your recommendations might be for how often you'd like to meet in the future. Okay.
I have a couple of comments. One for consideration for your next meeting is, if not an extension, what would the upcoming task force be assigned or delegated to do, to come up with another set of goals or to continue on with something like this? And another thing, I think we were at a half a dozen. We are, I guess, short, I would say, because of connectivity issues with one task force member.
Yeah, I apologize. I just want to be clear that the task force is new. The board didn't really know what to expect, but this was something that was written into the plan for the library. And so anything that the board, you know, works on, we're going to be taking this, your recommendations and your, what you all want to do going forward. So I just want to be clear, this is not something that's just going to end or dry up. We value the time you've put in so far. My only question would have been whether at this point it's beneficial for you to continue with the number of people that you have, or whether you wanted more people, or if that's too many cooks in the kitchen and now you would like to move forward with your recommendations, like I said, in more of a planning and implementation route. But again, this is just an informational meeting, so we can't take action on anything because we don't have a quorum. And it wasn't listed on our agenda. So this is in lieu of public comment right now.
Yeah, Ms. Mensa, this is Berta Peña again. I just want to make one comment, and that is when you have a vision and someone else takes that vision, it changes. And so perhaps I just want to add that we all had this vision. We were enthusiastic. We knew what we liked and what could be done. And we really felt that these were logical, doable activities and to reach that goal. Um, all we would like, and this is my input, I don't know, but I don't speak about, I don't speak for the committee, but I know that the committee knows and feels very deeply about these activities and could assist the library staff in making sure that it's part of your improvement plan. And it wouldn't hurt our feelings if there's one or two or three activities that are not pertinent to the vision that you have. But if you're always going to have a task force with a different vision. And so when you ask, are we comfortable? We're very comfortable by ourselves. We do have one member that never could, for whatever reason, could not be with us. If you would like to ask, each one of us individually, if we would like to stay or go, but as other people work on it, the vision changes. And so just keep that in mind. We want to stay realistic. We're here to assist you. We're not here to burden you and giving you more work, because if you get a totally new task force, the work will change.
I'm going to just interrupt you. I don't know what I said that gave anyone an indication that we would be changing membership or ending the task force. From everything that I've heard, every one of our board members is supportive of the ideas you come up with. We are overwhelmed with how well thought out these are. I feel that your goals are achievable. I feel that it is all scalable. And so the next phase now, because you brought up that your last meeting is coming up, is to work now with the library staff for the planning and implementation. So in the same way that the cities move forward with the storybook trail with parks, they're now going to loop in Cynthia Lizardi-Burlette into the planning of that, so we can make sure that her vision is fulfilled as part of that project. So in no way did I mean to imply that we're going to take what you've got and run with it, because that's impossible. Okay. And second of all, the only reason that I'm asking about more members is when I've done these kinds of things in the past, it always comes back to the same core people doing the work. And not everyone always participates their equal share. So that's why I was asking whether, you might want more. But that's something that I think is better discussed with Leo, and plans made then with Mr. Guerra and the library staff. And anything that this board can do to help you is what we're going to do. But in no way is, anyone going to just take what you've got here in this proposal and just run with it without your input.
Thank you.
And if I may add, yeah, we're definitely going to need your assistance. And to quote you, Ms. Peña, people. So obviously we're going to need your help in implementing, connecting with BISD and Ms. Ayala's vast knowledge of BISD and how it works. So we're definitely helping us in implementing it, working together. The ideas, we agree, and we prioritize what can be done now and what we can do in the future. But you guiding us and using your vast experience and knowledge, and who can we talk to? So that's where we can do that. I believe it's a 7-member task force. Now you have 6. I think what Ms. Shannon was saying, maybe add one more to have 7. But yeah, the 4 basically. This is a baby, and you're gonna help us grow this baby to an infant and all that. So because of the passion that you have demonstrated.
Yeah, we're committed to helping you guys see to fruition these proposals. Period.
I love what I'm hearing as far as the passion. We are at 6. I don't know if having some guidance from anyone from the board would be a consideration.
Well, I know that Ms. Ayala in the past has expressed interest in being sort of an ex officio member of that task force, and I'm certain that other people would be interested. Ms. Ayala, did you want to speak to that?
Certainly, I would certainly like to be able to assist in whatever I can with this. As Mr. Guerra said, Ms. Peña and I have worked very much with the community, and we can assist in whatever we can because I'm very excited of what you have done. It's really great, and I am looking forward for its implementation in the community and with our different districts in Brownsville.
And Rachel's Ayala's networking goes beyond it. I mean, it includes Santa Claus too.
We love you, Rachel.
Thank you. I think after 45 years with the school district, I educated most of Brownsville, their parents, grandparents, and children.
Well, I think we're all really excited about this, and you know, you're the first, you're the beginning of this network that is gonna grow over time, and these projects. What's great about community projects like this is not just the part of, you know, letting other people know what you're doing, but in terms of library staff, it reinvigorates us when we have new ideas, fresh ideas to go with. So, so great work.
And thank you for the opportunity.
We appreciate all of it. Thank you.
Here, here.
Did somebody else have a comment?
I just said here. You know, I definitely agree with Ms. Peña and Miss Cynthia regarding, you know, just our gratitude and, you know, the opportunity to serve the library system. I'm a major fan of the library system. Love y'all so much. So thank y'all.
Thank you for presenting today, Ms. Garza. Okay, so we're going to move on now to agenda item number 4. I attended the ALA annual conference June 23rd, 2009. Again, it's held virtually because of COVID. But interestingly enough, despite it being in the virtual space, there were more opportunities to share and interact with colleagues. So that was an unexpected surprise. I just wanted to let y'all know about some interesting things that I saw. Check Out the Chicken was a grant-funded program at a public library in California. They wrote a grant, got some chicks, and then built a whole program around kids getting involved in these urban spaces. So it was the first time that many of these kids in an urban area had ever seen a live chicken or seen a life cycle. They coordinated all kinds of things with having the children come and help with different tasks like cleaning out their little cages, feeding them. And then also, it may sound kind of macabre, but they were coming up with recipes. Not for the chickens, for the eggs. But anyway, it just goes to show you how creative public libraries are with trying to reach out to their communities and getting children involved in hands-on learning. The second one that I want to highlight was just really, really inspiring. Mr. Charles Person was the youngest one of the Freedom Riders, the youngest one to stand on that bridge in Selma. And he talked with us for about an hour, sharing his inspiration was just contagious. I think everybody felt like we had work to do after listening to his comments. He did a reading from his book, and sort of at the end of this discussion, it was hashtag get on your butt, which just means, pick the thing that you have got to see through, your passion, your thing that you're going to stand up for, and you got to board your bus. And some of these things we don't have the option of waiting for because they're just going to be coming. So it was very, very inspirational. And then another thing that I shared actually with Chase and with Leo had to do with this Tibetan language story time. And what I thought was interesting about that is that, yes, Brooklyn Public Library does a bilingual story time in the same way that Brownsville Public Library here in Texas does a bilingual story time. This one gained a lot of traction during COVID and kind of blew up and became like an internet social media sensation. I mean, Tenzing Palsing, the librarian, was featured in NPR, on other national news media, and doing the good work that our children's staff already do, which is, translating books or reading bilingual books, having bilingual songs, Spanish and English, to get the kids involved. And so I wanted to just share how inspiring it was that her story really became something of national significance and then international significance, because then folks from other, the Tibetan diaspora around the world then started joining the story time. So really inspiring. Basically, the common themes, as you guys might expect, pandemic times, talking about how libraries were overcoming that, how the kids could make crafts were a home run for everybody, and also just emphasizing that we don't have to make things look perfect as long as we let our community know that we're thinking of them and that we care about them, and we want to engage them. That's what they're looking for. And sometimes we have unreasonable expectations of ourselves that it's supposed to be, planned out. It's supposed to go this way according to this timetable. And really, what our community is looking for is just to see our faces and engage. Social justice, that, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, reflecting what is going on in our world today. And I was so proud to know that the public library has already adopted that diversity, equity, and inclusion statement as part of the mission. Decolonization was something else that was talked about quite a lot. And this is everything from stepping away from using Robert's Rule of Orders to looking at collections and our catalog and how we're referring to things, looking at our collections and seeing how outmoded tropes could maybe perpetuate negative stereotypes. So lots of controversy and discussion about that. But again, it was a really, really good experience, and I made sure to attend stuff not just to the academic library, but also I had you all in mind for a lot of this. I think we saw in our community firsthand the uneven impact of COVID-19 among our members of our community who didn't have internet connectivity, or if they did, it was troublesome. Our history librarians discussion group talked a lot about this decolonization. And then another opportunity that we might want to discuss with the task force later on for maybe like a 2023 kind of thing is this idea of an international partnership. Archiving the Present talked about oral histories and collecting stories of people in COVID times, in pandemic times, so that they would have that preserved for the future. And then the Black Caucus medical librarians talked about the unique challenges of the pandemic time, also for people of color. Billie Jean King has a new book. She spoke for an hour about that and her experience and her support for libraries and the work that librarians do and how integral they were to her growing up, just as important as having access to free tennis courts. And then there was a closing with Barack Obama, who is, I think you all may know, working on his presidential library in Chicago. And so he just offered words of inspiration for librarians as sort of arbiters of what's happening socially. So, so I just wanted to share with you about that. It's more just information than anything else. And if you're interested in more information about any of these things, I'd be happy to share that with you. So thank you for the time tonight. The next order of business on the agenda is our library report. And is that, oh, great. Hi.
I'll be doing that. My name is Jessie Balboa. I'm one of the branch managers. Pretty much what we are continuing with our services. We are super excited to be seeing our patrons coming back and utilizing our computers, asking for assistance. So everybody is, I mean, even our staff's like super excited about having them coming back in and getting us back into the rhythm of things. Of course, we have our programming, which we will be discussing later on with our children's staff. But we're just going to be continuing, and we're super excited to have our patrons back. Juan, is there anything else you'd like to add on that? You're on mute, Juan.
Sorry about that. I would just like to follow up that a reminder of the board that we have the same hours of operation at the main branch and at the Southmost branch. We increased 13 hours at the Southmost branch, mirroring the main branch. There might have been a misunderstanding regarding a website where it stated the old hours of the Southmost branch. The fact is we will have the same hours moving forward. So that's one thing that I want to follow up. Another thing that I want to follow up is on the main entrance to the Southmost. We have, from the engineering public works, it has been transferred to the internal services. We are in the stages of looking at procuring or giving samples or quotes for putting light posts at Southmost entrance with some banners. And then also, I'm going to add to that, if you recall, Commissioner Skolowski was applying for a grant, helped us apply for a grant to put some lighting posts at the Manzano. That grant unfortunately did not get awarded, but we are going to go ahead and get proposals to put some lighting in the back too with some banners. I will be informing the board once we have some quotes, so you can go. I would like to thank Ms. Ayala for giving us some ideas for those posts. I like them, Ms. Ayala, so we're working on that. I actually met last Thursday, even though it was raining. We met with the Internal Services Assistant Director, and we went over on the logistics of to where to put them and how to run power. You recall there's no power there, so we're going to make it happen to run some power so we can have visuals from both sides. So that I'm looking forward to that, and as soon as we have something, I will let the board know.
I would like to compliment Mr. Guerra because he did meet several of us. In fact, Ms. Peña was there also. And thank you very much because I went to visit the Southmost Library. It is looking very, very nice. And I was happy to see that the hours now are comparable to what we have at the Central Library. And the banners that he's talking about in those posts are what you have at major universities, and you also have them here at
Downtown.
just with the banners and the lights, because as Mr. Guerra mentioned, it's going to take time before they approve the lights in on Southmost Road. But I think this is going to make it very visible for you to be able to turn into the right area, because I know, as well as I know that area, I have missed that entrance 2 or 3 times. So thank you very much. And I'm so glad, Mr. Guerra, that they're also going to do it in the back entrance. So we're looking good. I mean, my compliments to you, because you're getting things done. And I thank you for our students and for our community. And Shannon, you too, because in sharing this committee. Thank you.
And in fact, I would like to add up, obviously there's no action, but one of the things that we're contemplating, and again, we're in the stages of getting the data about increasing hours on Sunday, mirroring like Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Normally we have our hours of operation from 10 to 6, but Sunday is 1 to 8. We would like, if the numbers dictate pre-COVID, for those 3 days to be 10 to 6. We're gonna look at the if 6 to 8, if the utilization is not that good, then we can change the hours back to 10 to 6, which in all aspects we increase hours of operation, and that way we can obviously increase hours of operation, but make use of the right schedule and not confuse people of what day it is, what hours are. So we're going to try to do that, but it has to be data driven. We have to use statistics to see if from 6 to 8 is it viable to open, and maybe is it better to open early in the morning. So we're going to bring that up to you based on data, and it's only on data, okay? That's it. Thank you.
Was someone going to give us updates on the summer reading program?
That'll be Chase and Kayla.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla, in case you haven't seen me on here before. My name is Kayla Trevino. I am one of the children's librarians. I work with Chase. And this year we worked together on our summer reading program, Tales and Tales, which is already halfway through. We started back in June, and registration has actually ended. It ended last week on July 6th, sorry. Last week on July 6th. And we've started accepting the reading logs, and we've actually got quite a few reading logs back already. One of our staff members actually sent us the numbers, and it looks like we have 18 from the kids section, 22 from 7 to 12, and then, other numbers. So it's looking good. And they have until July 19th to actually turn in the reading log. So they still have another week. And then our award ceremony is on July 30th. And I know Chase has some other things that he wants to add as well.
Yeah, so for sure. So as the presentation's going, Maribel's kind of just going through some of the photos of our past events that we've had. We've had a gaming tournament, we've had a stuffed animal story time and parade. We had an outside story time. We couldn't do it here at the main branch just because of the weather and everything, so we did do it inside. And then, of course, we had our first annual Brownsville Spelling Bee contest. We just had it at the Southmost branch a couple weeks ago. We'll be having our second one next week here at the main branch. And then we have like an adult BPO after hours. So adults could come in from that 6 to 8 time on Fridays and kind of have the main meeting room and space. So everyone wanted to do karaoke. So they all sang their heart out and everything like that. So what's really exciting though, and I think Shannon, you really touched on this, you said that it's not about being perfect about everything. And I think especially with us being closed for the time period that we were closed and us trying to get back into that sort of normalcy, we're trying to figure it out, because in reality, all this is still new to us. Like, even though we've done a summer reading program before and everything like that, we haven't done it with the sight of a pandemic in hand. And so we want to make sure that throughout this program that all our staff and all our patrons that were contributing to the program were safe, but most importantly, having a fun time And the one thing that I really want to touch on was this year we did not just focus on children's programming and children attendance, but we really wanted to put that focus on the adult and teen learners. As we all know, teens are kind of a hard bunch to get into libraries sometimes, especially the programs, unless you have food. But you know what, though, sometimes teens just need to have their own space to be able to be a teenager and be able to kind of forget about the reality, especially since a lot of teenagers this year couldn't experience the lives of high school and see their friends as often. And so we were kind of that space where they could kind of explore and discover and learn. And then also with the adult programs, we did scrapbooking, we did Cafe con Libros, which we partnered with like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, and it was just a space to have a conversation. And I think that's just what all our space is about, is creating conversation. Because it gets us to know our patrons and it gets the patrons to know who we are. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, because that's where we can go in the future. Because I think, Rachel, you said that, you know, we're as like a community center, we serve so many members of the community, so many diverse populations, people from all different backgrounds, low socioeconomic areas, that we're able to provide that hub of like computer access, literacy access, and it's all free. It's all with the library card. And I think that's what makes us so special and so unique. So I think with this program, we're so excited to see our patrons back and just to see their smiles. And I know this sounds super crazy, but as when I heard my first child like scream with excitement in the library, probably 2 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like really loud. And this time I was like, oh my gosh, the screams, I missed them. So, but thank you.
I really like your summer reading program. I'm a reader myself, and this is Mrs. Ayala. But next year, hopefully this pandemic will be over, that we can partner up more with the school district and with the other districts for your accelerated readers, because I know that the program that they have there, it's not going to cost us anything. They come and put it in the computer, encourages the kids to read, and Juan can testify to the fact that the friends of the library were the ones that were giving donations to buy incentives for the kids at the end of the program, because that's very important. And I really was very impressed, considering the pandemic and everything that's happening, that you make things happen. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to quickly add, if that's okay, Shannon. You know, the success of this program definitely does not, I don't want to forget the contributions that Friends of the Library added to the program. They were a big help in being able to accrue those prizes for these kids and stuff like that. I think ultimately we just want to be able to focus on like that literacy and bringing the joy and that creating that impact within the reader and stuff like that, and be able to provide a space where they can start their reading journey, where they don't have to feel bad about what they read. They can choose what they read, when they read it, how they read it, and stuff like that. And I think that's another thing about libraries. But no, we definitely want to make sure that we thank Friends of the Library for their contribution to the success of this program. So thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Yes, thanks so much. And I think, Ms. Ayala, your comments about, you know, partnering with the school district, you know, again, that also speaks then a little bit to some of the recommendations that were proposed tonight from the task force. So, you know, all of this, I think it's, all of these small things are going to parlay into much, much bigger, long-term, sustainable things for the library. So fantastic. I think the last thing we're going to hear about and from the library report tonight is about the makerspace.
Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is John. I'm one of the Makerspace advisors here. I hope you enjoyed that small video. It was created by one of our coworkers here. His name is Anthony. He's real excited about the Makerspace as well. If y'all don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this presentation and talk a little bit about the Makerspace program. So we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. Awesome. So to kind of get into the right mindset of things, I put here a quote. It says here, a type of space with new technology where a product can be created with the collaboration of fellow users. So that's basically Mr. Burke's take on a makerspace and what it is and what does it entail. So just to kind of outline the agenda about this presentation that I have laid out here, it's what is a makerspace, why start one, the intended audience and impact, the technology, both software and hardware, and a small Q&A session at the end. Cool. So what is a makerspace? Basically, it's all those little bullet points that are there, but it's a place where if you can dream it, you can build it. If you lack the, let's say, the knowledge on how to create something, or if you lack the tools or anything that you may not have physically, or you just can't afford, the library is able to provide it to you, right? So let's say you want to 3D print a model for, let's say, a chess set, right? You want to 3D print a couple chess pieces for yourself and for your family so you can play. You'll be able to create the files here at the library and print them out on our 3D printers. If you want to create like little board pieces that you're missing for, let's say, Monopoly or any kind of stuff like that, instead of buying a brand new board game, you can do that as well. So basically, whatever you dream of, you can create it. So why start one? It builds community through creation and ideation. It brings patrons to the library. It's basically just a communal effort here. It's very exciting. It benefits creatives and learners of all ages. I know when I was younger, I frequented the Southmost Library because I didn't have a computer access or internet access at home. So I feel like this would create the same kind of excitement for people today. But yeah, that's why I put that there. So next slide. Awesome. So the intended audience impact, we're looking at patrons of all ages here to be impacted, both kids, teens, and adults. I've already had a frequent patrons ask me about the makerspace and the 3D program and all that stuff. And a lot of them, their thing is like, what if I don't know how to use the machinery, or what if I don't know this, or what if I don't know that? I try to put their mind at ease and tell them like, it's okay. Like we're going to have workshops and demo days and all this fun stuff where you can come and learn. And I've already had a couple parents that are excited and they're kind of like, is it just for kids or is it for us too? And I'm like, no, it's for all ages. We're gonna have all different ages participate and stuff like that. So I'm glad that the adults are also very excited about this program and they're willing to participate and lend their time. So that's why I put here like basically patrons of all age groups here. Awesome. So some of the intended technology we plan to have at both facilities would be obviously the 3D printers, some 3D design support, so different modeling and slicing programs, vinyl and laser cutters, some sewing machines and e-textiles. The next slide. Lázaro, you want to take the next slide?
Hey there, I'm Lázaro. I'm the other Makerspace advisor. And yeah, so basically what we're hoping to complete, as John explained, is we want to make an area where a person could come in and create whatever they want, provide the tools to them. So some of the other technology that we'll have available would be Spheros and Makey Makeys. Those are specific robots that we're hoping to teach children, and I mean, not just children, it could be anybody of any age, but they're more aimed at children because of the way that they function. And it helps start creating that kind of the mind and the thinking process of, hey, I have this problem, how could I solve it using these pieces of circuitry? From there, we go on to the CNC machine. What a CNC machine does is you could create a program, and then that'll help the machine move in a specific pattern, and that'll carve into different types of material, including milling into wood, metal, and leathers. So you could create a product and either display it for yourself as an art piece, or you could create functional items such as furniture and things like that. From there, we also are hoping to provide different kits to help people in their creation or repairs of electronics and soldering. Personally, I've had in the past a couple of phones where I break the screen on them. So if we were to have those kits available, maybe people would be interested in understanding, hey, how could I replace or repair my own screen rather than having to worry about getting a brand new phone. That's both sustainable to the environment and it helps a person get new skills for themselves in the future that maybe if it's something that they enjoy doing once, it might turn into a whole career. I know that that's how I ended up going into engineering. It started breaking my old radios and that type of stuff. Nobody told my mom that I did it on purpose, but that's how I started. And then eventually it grew into a passion where I just wanted to dissect things and learn how things function. We could go on to the next slide. So this is what main branch, the makerspace area for main branch currently looks like. And then if we go into the next slide, we get a small preview. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I want y'all to be excited once the actual items come in. So I have placeholders kind of laying out how much space each of the different machines are going to take up once we purchase everything that we want to start off with. So just to briefly explain what you're currently seeing on your screen, this is that small room that we previously saw. And then on the left side, we have the Swift machine. The Swift machine is the CNC machine. It's basically, you could think of it as a drill bit that you program with the computer, and then that drill bit is what cuts into the different types of materials. From there, the next one over is a metal 3D printer. Most 3D printers function with or work with plastics. This one's exciting because what it could do, let's say there's a piece for an outdated piece that is no longer available for a vehicle or something like that. You would be able to actually print that here, then use the furnace right next to it. And then that'll help you create a end piece to continue working on. And it doesn't just have to be vehicles, it could be different types of brackets, or it could even be jewelry that you want to print. With those two in there in the middle. From there, we go on to the last one within the room. That one's going to be our laser cutter. That laser cutter would be able to cut vinyl, leathers, and other types of thin materials. And that would help for people that either want to create purses, or it could also help create different types of leather accessories and stuff like that. What we're basically trying to do is provide the tools so that whatever you imagine, you would be able to come in and build. And then last but not least is the Big Rep Pro. Big Rep Pro is very similar to what you're usually seeing in a 3D printer and what you saw in the video, where it injects a plastic through a small nozzle, and then that creates things. What's so special about this one is that you could create things that are 3 feet wide by 3 feet long by 3 feet tall. So if you look at most of your desks are about those dimensions, if not bigger. But that would be able to be to help a person, maybe you don't have $400 to go out and buy yourself a new table because you just moved out of your parents' house and you're a new college student, or several reasons that you might want to print your own furniture, or maybe you just want something different. And that would help provide that service to those patrons that want to have something that looks new and different and that they created themselves. And now we're not just focusing on main branch, we're also going to bring the same services to sophomore branch. This is what our sophomore branch makerspace area kind of looks like for now. And if we go on to the next slide, we'll see that there's, this is not the full view. Once again, we're trying to keep some of it hidden. We want a surprise at the end. We don't want to give away the whole idea of what we want planned. But this is the main entrance. Once you're inside of Makerspace, what you'll be looking out. Yeah, that would be the door that you would come in through. And then you could see that same Big Red Pro that we were talking about in the previous slide. And then right next to that is one of our workbenches that we're hoping to have. Not displayed there on the other side, where we have several other types of 3D printers and other types of machines similar to the ones that we have at Maine as well. I do have a rendering of the other side of the wall. We could give you a quick peek at that if you don't mind holding for just a moment. And I was actually working on that today, and we were not sure if we were going to have it on time, but they just informed me that it is ready. So let us get that up to the screen in a moment, okay?
And if you keep in mind the one at Southmost, the makerspace, that's on our work plan for this year. So that room will be made first, and then our main will be in next year's work plan. So we're gonna be basically what used to be the children's offices and all that, and the children's restroom. There will be basically one big rectangle where the makerspace is going to be, with sort of like look like a lab with glass, so people can look into. So we're going to do Southmost first and then Main.
Yep, that's the way that the plan is right now. And then here you could see a lot of the same machines that we were seeing in Main's office. You could also see one of our toolboxes available there. This was kind of us laying it out for our idea to see how we could make the different devices fit into the space that we have available to us. Now, this is not all Makerspace is. While you guys were presenting earlier, you also did mention that you wanted to focus a little bit more on music, coding, instrument DIY. So for coding, we're also going to be making use of some of our pre-existing computer areas so that we could have coding camps and have that type of teaching opportunity for the children and for any patron that wants to come in and learn that type of skill. Yeah, and we were also planning on hopefully making some types of music instruments available, or having a small recording studio available to the patrons. That's something that we're still working on. That's more of a long-term goal. But for now, we're really working on the machining area so that we start getting people's hands dirty and start working on things. Yeah. And there, John's showing off a couple of different items that we've already been able to get our hands on. He's showing off a controller, some of the wires that are used for that controller. And those are different STEM kits that are available for children to start playing with. He's showing off Mario, and I'll go ahead and show off Yoshi here. These guys were printed with our existing 3D printers. So if this is what we were able to do with the technology that we currently have, just imagine the different things that patrons will be able to create once we have the new and up-to-date toys to play with, as I call them. Any questions? No questions, comments, concerns, worries?
No question, but just a comment. Thanks so much for preparing this presentation and for all of the creativity that's gone into planning the maker spaces. I think it's really important that you have the representation of the subtractive and the additive processes, so people can kind of understand, how traditional machining worked at one time with the lathe style of removing material to create an object, and now we have standing alongside it, something with this additive process, and especially the metal. I'm really excited to see that, and I think people forget sometimes that sewing and fabrication, things like that, are part of makerspace, and any sort of hands-on, or as we call it in academia, experiential learning with these kinds of things, like you said, it just opens up people's minds to think about what possibilities are there. So I'm excited to see patron response on these.
This is Rachel. I'm also very excited to see that you're going to be implemented in the Southwest area. I'm going to go see. I'm a slow learner. So if you can help me learn how to do it. Thank you very much, Lazaro.
Yeah, I just want to show you that we're both excited. Both John and I were super excited about the whole thing. So as soon as we get everything up and running, I hope to see y'all. And if there's any questions, once we get up and running, we'll be more than glad to assist y'all with any of the machines that we do get our hands on.
Yeah, I have a feeling those demonstrations are going to draw some onlookers for sure as you start working with the equipment and the material. Any comments or questions before we move on? Okay, thanks so much, gentlemen. So we do have Ms. Celia Flores-Fife was able to hop on. So if I'm correct, then that does allow a quorum Quorum?
Unfortunately, Ms. Gonzalez is no longer in, so
Okay.
unless I'm mistaken, but I don't see Ms. Gonzalez. I think she logged
No,
out. So,
I don't. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Dr. Flores Spice. And we've just been sharing information to this point. Without the quorum, we couldn't take any action. Sharing information, we heard a lot from the task force, and we've got some work to do with our board in terms of providing them now the next steps based on their proposals. And then I did a quick update on things that I had from our experience with the ALA, and then our library services update, and the summer reading program update. So I think you joined just after summer reading program, but it is recorded, so we can share the recording of that. So the next bit of information that we were going to just share is to do with the library board member appointment update.
Yes.
And it's just a reminder, this is to replace Ms. Lehman's position.
Yes, Ms. Shannon, in the last previous meeting, by this time, we would already had one board member, but the commission decided to move it to the July 20th. So for the August 9th meeting, proposed meeting, we'll be having one new member to finish out the 6 months term of Ms. Lehman. And I think I believe it's 10 applicants that submitted their application for the Library Advisory Board.
Great, thank you so much. And of course, we won't be able to take action, but I do have a feeling people are getting anxious for face-to-face board meetings. So again, we'll have to wait to take action on voting for this. But I think our main concern earlier this spring was just to wait and see and be conservative about what our COVID numbers would look like in these summer months. But you know, if anybody wanted to have a discussion without action, to just express their interest in either face-to-face, hybrid, which would mean we would have face-to-face, but also an element of some people coming in remotely, or continue with remote meetings, virtual settings.
Shannon, the good thing is that you're considering both, because I know that it makes a difference when you're in person, and Juan has that huge room there on the side that there could be a lot of social distancing. So perhaps, I know we can't vote on it right now, but that's a consideration. And I like the fact that you can say those that don't want in can go ahead and do virtual. That's a good idea.
One thing for sure, we definitely already discussed that if and when we do go in person or virtual, we'll be interchanging libraries, starting with the southmost and then main, southmost main. That's already been discussed and decided upon.
But Juan, no, I'm not saying necessarily in Southmost, because the central library right now has that facility, you know, where you have the elections.
Yeah, the main, yeah.
That if members were concerned, there can be a lot of social distancing there. At this time, we need to take that in consideration, that we may not be able to meet at both libraries. If it makes people feel safer, that there's more social distancing, because I know you don't have a large room at Southmost, and we don't want to interfere with the patronage using the library.
Yes, ma'am.
Did any other? Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that I was just reminded is that if it's hybrid, it's hard to move the technology, both buildings. So if it's in person, then we can go back and forth. But if it's hybrid, we have to decide on one or the other.
Okay, good.
So hopefully we can vote on the 9th, make a decision. I believe in, we don't, I think Governor Abbott wants to start in September. I think fully open. I may be speaking out of line, but I think by September he's recommending to be fully open for the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, so then that would mean then next time around, August 9th, our next meeting, at the top of the agenda, we should definitely have a discussion of these future meetings and make a decision about when we want to return to face-to-face, or if we want to return to face-to-face. And then also, you know, again, talking about the task force and what more we can do as a board to support them to make sure that the proposed ideas are able to, that they're able to contribute and see those through planning and implementation, which means potentially extending their term. Again, we didn't know when we started. And then also talking with them to find out whether they do want to offer an option for that 7th person to join, so they have a little bit more help in sharing, you know, the burden of these meetings and decisions that are to come. So thank you all for bearing with us through this meeting tonight.
You have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here.
Any final? Nope. Okay. Ms. Ayala, did you have anything that you wanted to say before we sign off tonight?
No, I think we're on the right track, and I know that you'll be looking into it, and I know that I attended myself, that we used to have computer beginner classes for the community, and that's what, when I say that it, I'm a little bit challenged when it comes to technology, to all that, because I said, you know, these young kids, man, they pick it up real fast. It takes me a while. I still want to see but that's what I said. I'm a slow learner because I'm used to the old fashioned ways, but I mean, you're bringing it up to par. So that's a consideration too for the community once we get started with everybody going back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It was great to see you. I don't think we need to take a motion to adjourn at this point, since we've had an informational meeting, but it's been good to hear from our library staff and our task force, and as always from our board members. So thank you all so much. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.